big business intelligence company here in San Francisco. Take it away, Kyle.
All right, thanks guys. Get this set up. Slides, and then I'll dive into the demo, kind of the exciting stuff. My name is Kyle Pistor. I'm a senior solutions or sales engineer at GoodData. So I really work on kind of the pre-sales evaluation, building proofs of concepts, and then also actually getting some clients live on our platform as well. My background's, I have a master's in electrical engineering, where I did my thesis on collecting data on solar panels and actually how the environment affects their actual performance. So I started my career in solar, at SolarCity, in another company where I actually did something similar, where we had little chips in the back of each solar module where we tracked the performance over time of modules, weather, location, and I got really excited about the data aspect, so kind of pivoted into this space, and it's been pretty interesting. The good thing about GoodData is we get to see data from Fortune 100 companies to hot startups here in the Valley like GitHub, and so each stage of company has their own challenges, own data problems, and it's really interesting to get my hands on all that data and get to see that. So we got a little bit of background of admins. Are there any other people who use Salesforce along with like Marketo or any other tools as well? Okay, Google Analytics admins or anything as well? Okay. So GoodData. So really what we're doing is an end-to-end BI stack, purpose-built for the cloud. So the analogy for all the Salesforce crowd is what Salesforce did for CRM 10 years ago is what we're trying to do for the business intelligence space. Abstract all the complexity of the infrastructure so people can focus on their data problems rather than supporting all the infrastructure behind the scenes. So we have about 300 people working on that now. Founded in 2007 and funding from Andreessen Horowitz, Tenaya, and General Catalyst. This number is pretty large, 30,000 people. And so where that comes from is we have a large amount of direct customers, which means people are using it for internal analytics. But then we also get a large amount of these numbers from our OEM, which we call powered by. So customers like Zendesk or Zuora are embedding our analytics into their pages. And because we're in the cloud, we can scale up as their customers grow, and our APIs allow the metadata for the projects behind it to scale as well. So real quickly, I want to talk about kind of the macro scale of what I'm seeing talking to customers, because we're here for analytics, and I find it kind of interesting. Then talk about our platform and how all that relates to sales analytics, and then show you the demo. So macro scale. Almost every customer I talk to or potential customer has some sort of problem they're dealing with. It's either that they're not able to access their data, it takes forever to get it in the format that they want for the reports that they want, as well as they're not able to connect it to different departments. There's marketing data, there's the sales data, there's even support data, and so each company has their own problems, and this is what we're seeing, and Forrester even backs it up. So it's really quite interesting. I really like this slide. Our marketing made it, but I really like it. It really divides the different types of data into 4 different quadrants. So on the bottom left is the classical on-premise databases we've had forever. MySQL, SQL Server, Postgres, traditional table structure, on-premise, or even that you're maintaining in some cloud somewhere. And then above that is structured data in the cloud. So we're all here, Salesforce. It's structured data in the cloud. You connect to it different ways, APIs, rather than necessarily directly connecting to it. Other examples are Google Analytics, Marketo, ExactTarget, which is Salesforce now, and some others. And then on the other side of the table is the unstructured data, or big data, as everyone uses. So a little hot in the news, but this is clickstream data. You go to a website on Amazon, right? They're tracking every click, what products you're looking at. And so that data gets massive, so it's stored in MongoDB or Hadoop HDFS. And then above that is the cloud-based unstructured data. So they're storing it in something similar, but we get at it a different way through APIs with Facebook or a fire hose that we're getting from DataSift from some of the unstructured social streams as well. So when you talk to companies, they have kind of different problems, and there's different spectrums. There's different companies on kind of the low-end data size to the high-end data size that we talk to. And then even within these organizations, they're kind of within the spectrum where some departments are operating on keeping records in Excel. Some are in Salesforce or traditional databases, and some people also have Mongo or Hadoop type databases. So a lot of the companies, the bell curve, a lot of the companies are here. Their problems are really with traditional relational databases, but we have customers that are both. Like I work with Target, for example, and they're pulling social data, that's unstructured, and they want to connect it to some on-prem clickstream. So we're taking all their social sources, their social team, and connecting Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, and really their whole goal of the social team is to provide some sort of insights or justification on their spend. So they're tracking it not only to online sales, but they provide like coupons to customers to track it through brick and mortar as well. So tracking that ref marker of the whole life cycle. And then obviously, the trend, big data, everyone's talking about big data. The trend is to definitely go that way. And the customers or the companies that kind of innovated are here. Obviously Amazon, we've all bought something on Amazon like a golf club, and then for the next month they're trying to sell you golf balls. So they're all using the big data store. But as time goes on, more and more companies are trying to make it easier for smaller companies to get in that space. So being able to be really good at this, and then helping customers be able to start leverage all their data is really what we're trying to do. And that's kind of the concept of all data, which our CEO really coins and uses a lot, which is the all data enterprise rather than necessarily the big data enterprise. Because we want to close the gap between all the departments and all the types of data sources. And so how we do this is really our platform. So traditionally, if you were to go build a platform yourself, you'd need a bunch of different components you'd have to build on top of each other. You'd need some sort of traditional database where the data lives, an ETL tool to download it. You need some sort of data mart to get it into a format where you can actually build reports, and then some sort of tool, like Tableau or some other visualization library to build on top of that. And so, back to the premises, we've tried to abstract, all the complexity of the infrastructure so people can really focus on their data problems. So building pre-built connectors to Salesforce. You can do SoCal queries to just download the data. Other APIs like Google Analytics to connect to really easily, and even JDBC drivers, to go in and connect to different databases. You can do MapReduce from some of the unstructured sources, and even store the data in more of a classical data warehouse. So for Salesforce, really easy to start doing snapshots, pull in all the custom objects, and even back up the data. So we actually encrypt it and back it up in a separate location, so if there's ever any issues, the data is yours for you guys to download. And then where the magic happens is really when we combine it. So you have Marketo data, you have Google Analytics data, you have Salesforce data, so being able to combine that to close the loop between all the data sources so the end users can figure out, why are reps closing deals, what is my numbers going to be, what's actually going to close. And then even pulling in the marketing data is pretty interesting to start closing the loop between them. So, really what we're seeing for customers that, want to do something with Salesforce data or sales analytics. The first group is, they're not happy with sales reports. Is everyone happy with their Salesforce reports? Or they're a little difficult to use. It's difficult to do set up snapshotting. It's difficult to do cross-object reporting for custom objects, and then it's tedious to use. A lot of our customers really like it for obviously building the reports they're not able to, but for the ease of use. I'll show you in a minute, and gamifying their whole team. So like Comcast and Time Warner are using it for all their teams, so that they're thousands of people using it. So individual managers only have access to the data, and that they're able to kind of benchmark themselves versus other teams in different regions that are selling similar products. And then kind of what I've been hitting home on is where things get interesting is connecting the dots to other sources. So kind of, Marketo is what I keep going back to, but being able to attribute sales to certain marketing dollars. And then there's some customers who are even taking it to the whole next level and pulling in, SEO data, Google Ads data, social data, and then even closing the loop with some support data on the other side as well. So any questions so far before I dive into the product? Yeah.
When it comes to unstructured data, are you able to collect the data, let's say, from a company's Facebook page, comments, or like an Amazon, if your customer's Amazon, would you able to collect comments?
Yeah, so Facebook their APIs are pretty weird. Their Insights API, which is open and public.
Like specifically third-party websites, not Salesforce itself.
Yes, so some things are public. So Insights allows public information to be gleaned, but the funny thing is it's 2 weeks delayed, so everything you're getting is like 2 weeks delayed. So you're able to benchmark to some of that public information. And then there's two other, they have a graph and then their ads API. So anything you do ad spend on Facebook, it's a little tricky on how to track that. So we actually have access to that, which is locked down. And so there are 3 different APIs, you can glean different insights, but the information for competitors' pages is a little bit limited. You can't grab everything, but some of the public information you can. Any other questions? So let's see, let's get this to the right scale. So much like Salesforce, our product is all web-based. So users log in through a portal, or we can embed through SSO, single sign-on directly into Salesforce. So usually customers set it up as another tab, GD embed or advanced analytics. And then we can also map Salesforce hierarchies. So if you have reps in California that you only want them to see California data, we can map to those existing hierarchies in Salesforce. So there's through data permissions. Some companies want to lock it down to teams. Some people want to have, smaller teams want to have global access. So it's really up to you on how you want to configure it. But basically when you log in, it's the same. The concept of individual dashboards. And these dashboards are broken out by individual tabs. So kind of as a BI best practice, we like to have KPIs right at the top. So you hit the numbers that matter most. So if you're in sales, it's quarter to date, what is my number, what's my pipeline, what's my quota, and then some visualizations to help track how I'm getting to that actual number. And then conditional formatting of actually making these numbers come alive. We pride ourselves on an adoption rate, and I think it's really because of the ease of use of visualization and the conditional formatting, which makes the data come alive. Something I really like is the ability to drill into these numbers. So, the concept of taking action on the data. Like high-level numbers are nice, but if you're not able to do anything with it, it doesn't make much sense. So being able to add these drill paths to drill into some of these numbers. So I'm able to see accounts, opportunities, the reps, or I can even sort by, a dollar amount won. This is one, for example. So if I'm an individual rep, I can see my opportunities, or from a VP, I can see how my team's doing. And there's one step further. So if I click on, one of these links, rather than having to go and search Salesforce for this opportunity, it'll actually take me to that account or opportunity page, so I can go read the notes or take some action directly from GoodData. Let's see, some of the other things. Let's go to pipeline analysis. So all this data is dynamic once we load it onto our platform. So we actually are querying the data and loading it to our data mart. But it's not just a static image or static report. It's updating, Salesforce updates, and then it's dynamically update to filter. So if I want to filter by a specific region, I'm able to do so, and all the numbers dynamically update. So this is an interesting report because it's waterfall analysis, traditionally kind of hard to do, which is really comparing a snapshot of the data set versus kind of the current state of the data. So I took this example happens to be quarterly, but it can be on any kind of time interval that you want. So what we've done here is we've actually taken a snapshot at the beginning of the quarter and compared it to how's my opportunities changed over time. So if I won, have I lost? Have I been reforecasted or adjusted? So internally, all this changes really rapidly at the end of the quarter, but I know our VP, this is something he looks at almost daily. My kind of another favorite is this velocity tab. So what this is doing is, this is a profile of the winning deal based off of the individual stages. So to all the winning deals, this is the average profile. It took 103 days to close for this particular example. And then what we're doing here is the average days in each stage. And what I've got here is a drill down list, just like the last example, which gives me those opportunities that aren't following that profile. So these are deals that are, probably need some attention, or they're not going to close and probably need to be moved out. So a real helpful way for reps and managers to kind of keep tabs on what's going on. Similarly, this is, if you have a flyer through early stage, and then maybe, things get stuck in legal, like they do with us a lot. More ops here is if it gets stuck in an individual stage. So if something's stuck in legal, a manager can go in and push counsel or push whomever they need to. Outside counsel gets a pain a lot of the time, so you can go in and push them. There's a question about product. All these filters can be added. So obviously different product lines in different regions probably have different profiles. So if you want to filter by a certain profile, you can see that's a dramatically different profile. It's also pretty easy to, if you want to go in and edit one of these things, go in and add another attribute. So if I wanted a region, I could go ahead and add this. And now I'd be able to filter by that dimension as well. Kind of moving on to a couple others. This is an example of revenue marketing analytics. And this is, the beginning of connecting multiple data sources. So really being able to track marketing source dollars. So what's actually coming from marketing, what's not coming from marketing. Being able to look at the lead funnel. So really being able to see that whole funnel of, new leads, marketing qualified, all the way to sales qualified, and even sales won. You'd be surprised how many marketing departments are, just keeping track of marketing qualified leads, and as soon as it goes to sales, they don't care. And so really closing the loop is what actually leads to a healthier business. So being able to get insight of where things are coming from is huge, which really leads to the revenue attribution models. So being able to model different ways, whether you want multi-touch attribution, single-touch attribution, or last-touch attribution. I know some companies are fairly good at last touch. Being able to apply different weights to different touches is also something we allow on the back end. So the coefficients for the weightings of the attribution can be added. Any questions so far?
So it's all in the cloud. How do you guys secure the data?
Sure, yeah. It's definitely something we take seriously, because if there's a data breach, obviously it's huge.
And you were using Target as an example.
Yeah, and they were, definitely. And G's wasn't easy either. So everything's encrypted in transit and at rest. We do have, we take best in breed certifications, which are expensive, but we get the audits done, and they're long, year-long audits by PwC, so we're SOC 2 compliant. And then even for more security conscious customers, we're even doing things where they're encrypting their attributes on their side, so we don't even, we see their numbers because we have to do math on the numbers, but they're encrypting like the names of the opportunities, and they're the only ones that hold the keys, so we don't even have the keys on our side. So that's something that we're doing, more recently for some more security conscious customers as well. So something I didn't really touch on is kind of the different levels of permissions. I added that filter in and I was editing it, but we have kind of the admins who can really do everything. They can invite people, they can manage the data loads, they can even build on the project if they want to. Then there's editors who can go in and actually edit these reports, edit the dashboards, and then it makes sense in large organizations to sometimes lock it down so people can see the data, but they can't actually change anything. So real quick, let's just show you how creating one of these reports would look like. So this is a list of the reports that we're making up the front end. If you notice, there's version numbers. So every single report, the metadata associated with the report is kept. So we have multiple versions. So if at any time I wanted to roll back to a certain version, I can see who changed it, and I can also go talk to them why, or I could revert really quickly back to a different version. And then folder structure to have bookmark my favorites or break down by topic or subject as well. But if we wanted to create a new one, this is really what we've designed. We want the end users to be able to go do this. You don't need to constantly involve either admin to build reports or go back to IT to build reports, where you're asked two basic questions. It's like what you want to look at and how you want to break it down. So the what are, the metrics, the numbers. So let's do dollar amount. And then the how is the dimension that I want to slice that actual metric by. So let's do close date, for example. And if you notice, I have different options here. So we pre-aggregate and deal dates as a conform dimension. So I can, already aggregate based off of quarter. If I want to look at certain trends like day of the week, those are options already made in. You don't have to do anything complex. So let's build this report real simply. And so just like that, I've sliced the individual quarters by their dollar amount. I can real quickly exclude Q1 without any sort of code since it was a 0. I can even go in and let's add another dimension. Let's do product type. And so now I get a little bit more complicated report breaking down by 2 different product types. And the numbers are nice. Oftentimes I advise people to have visualizations with raw numbers because the visualization shows you the trend, but the table really shows the numbers behind it. And so I'm able to real quickly convert that into a visualization and see that Q2 is the outlier. Of course, the leading zeros are obnoxious, so you can get rid of those and put millions or billions if you want. You can change the custom color format. So some really picky customers we import. It's really easy to import custom color palettes, and we can do other configurations as well. So while I'm here, let's just go into emailing dashboards. So this is something I can use, and a lot of execs and VPs use a lot. I get a dashboard with my metrics that I'm judged on emailed to me every Monday morning to make sure I'm filling things out and make sure I'm tracking those changes. And so you can choose to have a dashboard or report, scheduled to go out via email on a recurring basis. So I can do it as an inline message, PDF, or some people even get the raw data as Excel or CSV if they want to look at it in a different way. So real quick, let's throw this into a new tab. So this is kind of the blank canvas that all of the other dashboards or tabs were created for. And so I can real quickly go in and pull in that report I just created, scale it, much like an image, and put it to the location I want. I can go ahead and add in, new reports. So this is a large table. And then I can start even adding filters or even web content as well. So maybe not as pretty as the other tabs, but relatively easy to get going and start creating tabs and reports on your own.
What do you mean when you say I can add web content? So you mean you can click something on the web and add it there?
Yeah, so this example is a YouTube video. Some people are putting YouTube videos. But we have a number of different clients doing interesting things, like e-commerce companies are putting in images of their products. So if they're tracking trends and they see something selling really well and they have a product number, the image might be nice for the person looking at it, like the red one's selling better. Another customer, they do analytics on movie box debuts, and so they actually pull in the picture of the default picture from IMDb pulled into the movie. So something to make it a little bit more interesting. So it's about all I had for the demo. Key take-homes are, obviously Salesforce, we're all here with that, but I think the magic really becomes when you start democratizing the data, getting people to start looking at the data, finding their own insights, and connecting it with other data sources, I think really is where a lot of the magic happens as well. So that's pretty much it. Any more questions?
Question about bringing in ERP data,
Yeah.
financial systems.
Yeah.
Do you have existing grids, templates, or is that a professional services
Yeah,
engagement?
so we have Salesforce templates, we have box templates, we have Yammer templates because the metadata structure of those is pretty predictable. Out of all those, Salesforce is a little challenging because everyone has their own fields, own objects. So doing that mapping sometimes a little bit difficult, but those are available. NetSuite and other ERPs are a whole nother beast, so we don't have an out-of-the-box template, but we are familiar with their APIs. And we do connect with them often. Yeah.
I think you already answered my question, but just to confirm, so your app is available for Sales and Service Cloud?
Yes, yes. And so you guys can actually go online and register and play around with the sales one I show, and there's one other you can play around with. So if you just register, you'll get access to a view-only version of sales and another one that you can play around with. And we're happy to give you access to more if you want to play around. And there's even trials online that will do mapping to your existing Salesforce instance, you know, in about 30 minutes to an hour, so you can play around with that as well.
I noticed you switched in the demo from kind of embedded in Salesforce to the SaaS application.
Yeah.
Are there limitations of the stuff that's embedded in Salesforce, or does it just look better?
No, there's not. It's just I spend all my time in the other, so I'm a little bit faster at it. But if you know, if I go into edit, I go, you know, it's the exact same thing, exactly. Just the headers get taken away because it's a little cleaner to view. And so when I'm constantly building, I stay in the larger browser.
Right. Okay.
But a lot of people are consuming directly in Salesforce. Good question.
How do you guys differentiate yourself with Tableau?
Yeah, so Tableau is awesome visualizations. We even have some customers who are using us as the back-end engine and then kind of using some of their visualizations on the front end. You know, they're definitely kind of like an analyst tool, you know, where you can explore the data, but you kind of got to be pretty savvy. We differentiate really that whole stack, so becoming the BI platform rather than necessarily just a component on one end or the other, so they're that front-end visualization.
So more a little bit like C9, so you just store the
Yeah.
data and
Yeah, and we see C9 come up a little bit. You know, they focus just on sales, and there's a little bit of rigidity to it. So as soon as people want to start adding other data sources or do some interesting thing with snapshotting and custom objects, you know, C9 gets a little limited, but you know, some customers are happy with that as well.
and they don't have that cool report builder.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised. I mean, people buy us for different reasons. One's they just want the reports, and they let us do all the setup, and they don't want to edit anything. And then there's some people who want to go in and constantly create and look at the data other ways. So it really depends what they're looking for. Cool. Thanks, guys.
All right, any last business cards before we do the drawing? This is out. Which one should we do first? Most. Would you like to draw one?
Oh, sure, I'd love to. I didn't put my own business card in here, don't worry.
No, you don't win your own.
I did it. Berkeley Riley?
Working here? Oh, must be present to win, all right, try again.
Who's your Natan?
All right.
Okay, it says 25 to 500, it's only 50. So.
Okay, thank you so much. All right.
All right, and for the Starbucks gift card, we have Michelle. Ah.
Yay.
Great. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So next one's on June 4th, and thanks for all coming.